Working the night shift is quiet, until something walks in that isn't supposed to exist. Story 1. The Night Shift at Benny's. The fluorescent lights at Benny's Burger Barn hummed like a dying insect, flickering just enough to make the walls pulse. It was 1:37 a.m., and I was alone. Except for the occasional drifter, the too late for dinner but too early for breakfast types who wandered in looking half asleep or half dead. I was wiping down the counter when the bell above the door chimed. A man stood there, hunched, his coat too heavy for the season. His skin was waxy under the sickly yellow light, his fingers too long as they drummed against the glass counter. "Just a coffee," he said. His voice grated like rusted hinges. "Sure thing," I lied, forcing a smile. The coffee machine gurgled, steam rising like something breathing. When I turned back, he was staring at the security monitor behind me, the grainy black and white feed that showed the empty dining area, the dark kitchen, the staff bathroom door slightly ajar. His eyes flicked to me. "You ever see things on those?" "Excuse me?" "The cameras. Things that aren't there when you turn around." A chill spider walked down my spine. "No, sir. Just customers and my coworker, Derek, when he's not on smoke break." The man smiled, slow and wrong. "Funny. I could have sworn I saw someone standing behind you just now." I didn't turn. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. But the reflection in the napkin dispenser showed nothing but empty booths behind me. He took his coffee and left without another word. Derek came back from his break reeking of cigarettes and cheap beer. "What's with you?" "You look like you've seen a ghost." I told him about the man. Derek laughed, but it died when I pointed to the security feed. The timestamp read 1:37 a.m. No customer, just me wiping the counter, then pausing, head tilted, as if listening to someone. And behind me, in the corner of the screen, a shadow that didn't move like a shadow should. Derek swore. Then the power flickered. The fryer hissed. The bathroom door, the one on the monitor, still slightly ajar, slammed shut in the real world. We both froze. The camera feed cut to static. When it returned, the dining area was empty again. Except for one booth. Something sat there. Not a man. Not anymore. Just a shape, slumped forward, its neck bent at an impossible angle, fingers twitching against the table. Then, slowly, it turned its head toward the camera. The screen went black. Outside, the wind howled through the drive-through speaker. Inside, the bell above the door chimed again. We didn't turn around. We didn't have to. Because in the reflection of the microwave door, we saw him, standing right behind us, grinning with too many teeth. And this time, he didn't just want coffee. Story 2. The hour between 2 and 3 a.m. is what I call the dead hour. The late-night drunks have stumbled home, and the early risers haven't yet crawled out of bed. It's just me, Maya, the hum of the freezers, and the sticky floors that never quite come clean. Tonight, the dead hour felt heavier. A thick fog pressed against the windows of the Burger Beacon, muffling the sounds of the highway. That's when we saw him. Not at the drive-through speaker, but standing motionlessly at the locked glass doors of the lobby. He was a tall, thin silhouette against the swirling mist. "We're drive-through only," Maya called out, not bothering to get up from her stool. The man didn't move. He just stood there, his face obscured by shadow and the condensation on the glass. Then, he raised a single pale hand and tapped once on the door. Not a knock, but a soft, deliberate tap that was somehow louder than the hum of the machinery. A chill I couldn't explain crawled up my spine. "I'll handle it," I muttered, walking to the drive-through window. I pushed the button. "Sir, our lobby is closed. You'll have to use the drive-through." His voice crackled through the speaker, a dry whisper. "One water. No ice." I glanced back at the front doors. He was gone. A moment later, his ancient, rust-eaten car idled into view. I passed him the cup of water. His fingers were long and grayish, and brushed mine for a fraction of a second. They were cold. Colder than the ice I'd left out of his cup. He paid with a single worn silver dollar, then drove off into the fog. "Weirdo," Maya said, wiping down the counter. "Probably just—" She stopped. "Hey, did you knock over the salt shaker?" I looked. The shaker that had been sitting by the register was on the floor, its contents spilled in a perfect, undisturbed circle. "No," I said slowly. "I didn't go near it." We both stared at it. There was no draft. Nothing had fallen. It just was. An uneasy silence settled between us. To break the tension, I said, "Let's check the camera, see what that guy's deal was." I pulled up the footage on the office monitor. We watched the grainy black and white feed. There was the man at the door. There I was, walking to the window. We watched the counter, waiting to see the salt shaker fall. It didn't fall. In the video, as the man stood at the door, the salt shaker simply slid, smooth as ice, right off the edge of the counter. No push, no vibration. It just moved. My blood ran cold. "Rewind it," Maya whispered, her voice tight. I did. We watched it again. The shaker sliding on its own. But this time I saw something else. As the man outside the door turned to walk to his car, his reflection in the glass didn't. For a split second, the figure in the reflection stayed put, its shadowy head turning to look directly, impossibly, into the security camera. We didn't speak for the rest of the shift. The hum of the freezer had never sounded so much like a whisper. Story 3. The clock hit 2 a.m., and the world outside our greasy windows had shrunk to a handful of streetlights haloed in fog. Inside, the stagnant air was a familiar cocktail of old fryer oil and disinfectant. It was just me and Maya, coasting through the graveyard shift at Burger Beacon. The silence was usually a comfort, broken only by the low, asthmatic hum of the freezer unit. Then the drive-through sensor chimed. I straightened up, putting on my customer service voice. "Welcome to Burger Beacon. Can I take your order?" Static hissed back for a long moment before a voice crackled through. It was wrong. It was flat, monotone, like a synthesized voice from the early days of the internet, but with a faint, wet echo behind each word. "A plain cheeseburger. No condiments." "Okay, one plain cheeseburger. Anything else for you tonight?" "No." The single word was clipped, final. "That'll be $3.24 at the first window," I said, a shiver tracing a line down my spine. Maya glanced over from the grill, raising an eyebrow. I just shrugged. A few moments later, a pair of dim, yellow headlights crawled into view. The car was ancient, a boxy sedan covered in a film of grime that seemed to swallow the light. It stopped at my window, and I slid the glass open. The man behind the wheel didn't look at me. He stared straight ahead, his face a pale, emotionless mask. His skin was too smooth, like wax, and his eyes were wide, dark pools that never blinked. He held out a hand, and I flinched. His fingers were too long, bending at strange angles as he dropped a cluster of coins into my palm. They were ice cold, so cold they felt sharp. I quickly handed him the bag. He took it without a word, his fingers never quite touching mine, and the car pulled away, its engine making no sound at all. "Weirdo," Maya muttered, already wiping down the counter. But I couldn't shake the feeling of profound wrongness. The way he sat, so stiff and still. The texture of his voice. I needed to see it again. I told Maya I was checking something in the back and went to the small manager's office, pulling up the security feed. I found the timestamp. Camera 3, drive-through window. There was the car, a dark smudge on the grainy footage. There was my own tired face, leaning out the window. I watched as the hand extended from the driver's side, dropping the coins. Then I rewound it, zooming in on the driver's seat as the car first pulled up. My heart stopped. My breath hitched in my throat. The driver's seat was empty. I watched it again. The car pulled into frame, controlled by nothing. The door was flush with the window. A hand, pale and long-fingered, materialized from the empty space where a driver should be, offered the coins, and then retracted into nothing. The bag was taken by an unseen force. Then the empty car rolled silently away into the night. Out front, the drive-through bell chimed again.